What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Sammy the Gamer 12 video. Today we are back in just Minecraft, but what I'm doing today, as you can see, I have create mod enabled. I'm actually going to be doing a create mod tutorial. Just because I feel like create is a little hard to understand sometimes. So this is just base create mod. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the actual mod itself. So this is version 6.0.8, and in here it actually does not require anything. Surprisingly, it actually has the dependencies included, like flywheel, mainly because they're GitHub pages. Ponder is what's needed to ponder things. And I guess, I don't know if mix in extras is actually supposed to be here. I don't know what that is. But first we're going to talk about the ponder menu and settings. So, starting in here, we have your CurseForge and Modernth buttons, so you can view it on each of those. And under configure, you're going to have some stuff under here, starting with the client configuration. Like the JEI integration is pretty helpful when you actually have JEI installed. But it's pretty simple menu. If you want to edit your config, they made it really easy. This is back button, obviously. And then you just hit save if you've done anything. Oh god. Then there's the common config, which there's nothing really in it right now. It's just disable world gen. And you can also somehow, I really like it, their config menu works for everything. Editing mode. We'll have to check that out. I've never seen that. So you can configure any other mods with the create menu. And obviously, you have your other links here. And we'll look at the ponder index, but first, you actually have to get into a world to look at the ponder index. So I'm just gonna create a new world here for testing the ponder index and other server configuration, which is also only available when you're in a world. So, now we're in this creative world. The goggles icon is still going to be here. And now, as you can see, we have the ponder index. And there's a lot of categories you can ponder in here. So, first up, kinetic blocks. You can select all of your different kinetic blocks. When you ponder on something like a cogwheel, it'll show you a pretty detailed demonstration on how these pieces of the mod work. What the? Comfy reading? Okay. So, you can ponder just about anything in the mod in here. Like, for example, if you don't know how, some of these logic components are pretty interesting. Like, if you don't know how the powered latch does, what it does, it's a great way to figure out what things do. And not the only way you can ponder. If you go into here, you can just hold W on something to open the same ponder menu as we just looked at. And now let's look at some, oops, not the right one. Now we can look at our server configuration, which is way more important if you're configuring a server or just your world. So, one thing that I do sometimes find annoying in create is there's a lot of like max things in here, like range and stuff, and like there's a lot of limitations, but luckily most of those limitations are actually editable in here. Like the max blocks moved is actually one of them. So it'll sometimes limit you to not, it won't let you make large contraptions. This is actually why. You can just put this up. Like the chassis, piston pull ranges, rope length. There's a lot of things in here. Movable obsidian. You can even, move obsidian and stuff like reinforced deep slate, I guess. That's interesting. And spawners. So yeah, this is a pretty simple element I think is really helpful when you're playing. So, now we're gonna start talking first about the simplest stuff, which is the building blocks. So, Create Mod adds like a ton of building blocks. We're not gonna go over all of them. So there's a few fun things you can do with most of these. So first of all, these train doors, if you actually put them on a train or an elevator, you can program them to open automatically depending on what's happening. And obviously they're not glitchy at all. Their hitboxes actually move accordingly. And then another fun thing that I think is in here is copycat stuff. There's actually a whole add-on about adding copycat blocks and stuff. But basically, what a copycat block is, if I were to go ahead like that, they can become any block you want. Any block. So I just made like a really thin slab. And I believe, okay, in the add-on you can actually stack them more, but I guess you can't here. So it's just a really interesting way of making some more complicated blocks. A lot of times you'll see people who make large contraptions and try to make them look good. They'll usually include the copycat add-on, so they have more choices. So, other cool things in the building blocks tab, a metal girder. These are really helpful. Like, believe it or not, these are really helpful for actually like holding your contraptions up high, and they look good too. So they're pretty simple. You can easily place them from the bottom. Oh, and do that, I guess. They can really go any way. So you can see now I just kind of made I don't know what I'm making now. You can really make anything with these. Like this, we can actually probably use this as a demonstration too, so we'll leave this here. So the rest of these are pretty self-explanatory. They're just blocks. Most of them look really cool. I mean, all of them look really cool. So now we're gonna talk backtanks. This is common that people don't actually know what these do. So, let's see. So backtanks actually are required for things like, well, they're not required for potato cannons, but for things like an extendo grip, not required either. But yeah, I don't think anything really requires it. Actually, it adds perks when you have one of these on. Plus, it adds armor. So, yeah. And if you're using like Create Jetpacks add-on, these also work for that. And yeah. So the wrench. So think about the wrench as just like anything else in the real world. It is used to modify things. So let's see. We're not doing anything with this yet. If we get a gearbox, we can move it around, and if we shift and right click, it breaks it and it'll add it back to your inventory if you're in survival. Which, yeah, it basically does that for every block. If I place a fan down, oh no, it's not facing the way I want. Pretty simple, now it's facing the way I want. So there's some other complicated things in here that we will get to just a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to start talking about one of the simplest things in here, a mechanical bearing. Oh god. Okay, well, looks like we're going to need if you're building in creative mode. Oh god. Oh gosh. Sometimes these wrenches are kind of finicky for some reason. Sometimes they won't let you change. Nah, that's fine actually. So, in creative mode, you have a creative motor, which is just a creative power source. In survival, you don't get that perk, and you're gonna actually need to find a way of powering stuff, which I will talk about in just a second. But first, let's see if we can get this. I'm trying to make like a giant fan here. So now we got that turned like that. Now, a really good thing in Create Mod is super glue. This is used to glue blocks together. So I just genuinely, just attaching a bearing to something won't glue everything together. So you gotta make sure absolutely everything is intertwined when you do this. Okay, now. Yes, so all you gotta do is add a power source to it, and boom, you got whatever the heck I just made here. It's an uneven fan. And on creative motors, you can set the speed up like really high, and then I guess if I fall, I would like, ooh. Yeah. You can change the direction to the other way. This looks so weird. So that's my basic demonstration, I guess. But say, oh no, you don't have a creative motor. Well, one of the early game sources is actually a not what the windmill. Windmills are really good for early game stuff, but I notice I don't think a windmill is gonna work this way, guys. Like, realistically, I don't think it would work this way. I don't really know if it works in game. I'll experiment with that, but yeah, windmill bearing's not gonna work like that. Why is it placing? So gearboxes. There's a lot of gearboxes. We're gonna use a vertical gearbox, because when I place this down, it's yeah, it connected. Okay. It's basically just like a gearbox. I mean, it changes the direction, and then we can go ahead and place a windmill bearing there, and just kind of I don't know what I'm building, guys. You can do any design you want. The more sails, the more powerful. So now we got it moving very, 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 very slowly, because this is a very poor windmill design I have. But it's moving. Next power source we're gonna talk about, and we're actually gonna keep this block, aka the vertical gearbox. Really helpful. There's also horizontal, which I guess we'll have to look at some point. So now let's talk water wheels. There's two different types of water wheels. They're basically usually this is another early game thing. Also, the painful way of doing it, if you really can't find any other way to power stuff and create, which actually, since there's currently no weight measuring on these contraptions, you can just put down a hand crank, and it actually moves decently fast. If this was realistic, you definitely wouldn't be cranking this with your hand crank here, but So hand cranks are very fast, but they're kind of annoying unless you have an auto clicker. Um, so now I guess we can go ahead and start hooking up our large water wheels like this. So water wheels by themselves, hold on, I need some water. And it's gonna be kind of messy. So water wheels by themselves genuinely don't go very fast. The more of them you have, the more stress you'll produce. So goggles, go ahead, you get your goggles, and you can, I guess it's, not gonna tell me that. So these are, each creating 512 stress units, which that's a lot. And this is only using 16 at the current speed. And you can't speed these up. So, hold on. Game rule, do daylight cycle false. You can't speed these up directly from here. So, we're gonna get rid of all of these. And I forgot about the water, so I don't really know how to do this any other way. There needs to be an easy water removal mod here. For now, we're just going to remove the water because we have something else that we're going to do now. So you can go ahead and get a rotation speed controller. These are a little more complicated than you might think. Basically, we don't want it facing like that. Hold on, what? Yeah, see, the wrench is not liking, okay. Oh, wait, we were supposed to place that one below. Oopsies. Alright, so then you need not a large cogwheel. And you gotta go ahead and place that on top, like that. And then, you can go ahead, place down a good rotational power source. Not like that. A good rotational power source on each side. I guess you could do one side if you want. So we're gonna keep going here. So see these, okay, now these are generating. So, what does a rotation speed controller do? First of all, you do not need a wrench to edit this value. But, that's what it does. Yes, it lets you control the rotational power, but it will use more stress units. So, right now, it's using 1,024 stress units. What the heck? Don't care, dude. And if we put this, I don't care. Okay, my computer is, it won't necessarily change if you put it at a different direction. But you see, if we bring it down a little bit, it's not going to use as much SU. So that's the basic way of getting more power to your devices. Next thing we're going to be doing, we're just going to be using creative motors for, and then belt. Just got a mechanical belt here. So that's kind of messy. I'm just going to go ahead and place down 2 of these. You can go ahead and link them up really easy like that. That's really cool. Then you can just go ahead and place down your power source or get your power source going. So first of all, the cool thing about belts is you can ride on them. Players, entities can ride on these belts, but if you press shift, you don't move with it. Let's see what happens if we just like fling ourselves off now. You can get kind of funny things going with these. They don't really have like too dynamic, like they won't exactly throw you off. but it's fun to imagine. Okay, so when you place an item down on it, which can be done by doing that, and when you right click it again, it'll come off, or just right. Okay, maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe they took that feature out. They just need to be dropped some way. So I'm gonna grab my shaft back here. Now we're gonna talk about funnels. Funnels and tunnels. So there's two different types of basically a lot of things in Create Mod. There's two different types, and that will be your andesite, which is always gonna be a little less, and your brass, which is gonna be like maxed out because it's a little more expensive. So if we just get a creative crate right here. Oopsies. We're just gonna put a creative crate right there, and we'll say get an andesite funnel, and then we'll just dupe it. So the andesite funnel is quite slow. It can't let stacks of stuff out at a time. But you see, if we go ahead and replace that, it's gonna be letting whole stacks out. And now we have basically an infinite amount because we're using a creative crate. So, yeah. So now, maybe we could, let's say we want to store that. On the other end, right over here, that's a lot of, oh my god. Wait, we probably want to do this from the other way. There's some, how am I supposed to do this? Cool. So say we need to put that stuff somewhere. Let's go from brass funnel to brass funnel. So now it'll actually feed into those chests. So if we go ahead not do that for some reason, now as you can see it's going stacks at a time. Now we don't need it yet. I'm just getting it for later. You can set filters in these, which we're not exactly going to talk about this episode because that's a little more complicated, but you can let it only do a certain amount. Like now it's doing a smaller amount. They also do make a kind of satisfying noise. You can also tell it to exactly output 33. But right now it's just letting out really anything. So this chest is gonna be full soon. Maybe we need to say, I don't know if this is gonna work, but okay, yeah, I don't think it'll work. When we'll wait, oops, okay. I didn't mean to show y'all that yet, but that's another cool feature. If you put stuff on top, it's gonna output a lot. Dang it, okay. It's gonna start to output stuff. Also, we'll talk about chutes in just a second. Because chutes are also a little more complicated. But let's talk about the tunnels now. I think about this like one of those airport scanners. You can put them next to each other and they make this longer tunnel. So, what exactly do these do? Well, andesite tunnels actually, as far as I know, they actually don't really do anything. I think you could link up a display, which we'll talk about in a second, but definitely these brass tunnels let you filter the item, so now it's not gonna let anything through, because, and now this is full, so it's not gonna let any through there anyways. So our whole thing is stalled now. So I guess we might as well get a display link. We might as well get a display. It's not too complicated. Yeah. So for a display, you're gonna need as many display boards as you want, cogwheel, and your power source. So here, I'm just gonna make a basic display board right here. I'm just gonna put my cog right there. And these things require over 32, I believe, so I'm just gonna put it up to max speed. So now, if we go ahead and just get a brass tunnel right there, and we right click on this as the target position, then put it there, and then we actually have to tell it like what to put. 0. Okay, yeah. So basically it's kind of confused right now because the belt stalled, but yeah, it'll kind of act as like a scanner. I can tell it a label. Like, you can put whatever you want in the label, and then like that. It'll show you the label and the amount of whatever on there. Now this, actually, you go ahead, sources, there's a lot of things on here, like andesite tunnels and brass tunnels, that these things can take from, even command blocks and targets, which, yeah. And factory gauges, which we're definitely not getting into that today. That is extremely complicated and annoying to work with. So, that's our belt demonstration. Nope, okay. I have one more thing that I do want to talk about real quick, and then and a few other things actually. So the fan is kind of fun. Like, I'm pretty sure the fan is a fan favorite, literally, because it's just satisfying. It's really fun. You can go down by pressing shift. Other fan mods don't seem to actually incorporate that. And yeah, you might die if you fall out the side, but that's fine. So another favorite is the weighted ejector. These things are like apparently really good for you know, I don't know. Oh, it's not really launching me that far, guys, but oh, what the? What the? Oh, what the? It's not, dang it. Okay. It's not actually propelling me as far as I thought it would. But, whoa. What the? Oh, I think it might be. Okay, so generally you have to have more sequencing actually set up for these. Oh. Okay, yeah, I don't understand. Usually these would launch you like really far back. Let's just move on. Clockwork bearings, they're pretty simple. You just supply them with power and they actually kind of show the time. You could make a literal clock tower with these things. Oh, mechanical crafting. So, this is another pretty simple concept, except you can make really big machines with these actually. So, very important thing in the back here. You gotta make sure all of them are linked. Like, you gotta click on all of those to make sure that the whole thing is linked together. Then you can tell it which way to go. I'm actually not gonna demonstrate all of this. There'll be a part 2 where we do some more complicated stuff, but basic setup, if you gotta put a cog into the side like the display board. Okay. Let's see, what do we got? Tree farming, automatic tree farming, I guess. A lot of the stuff I'm gonna do next episode, such as trains, maybe some of this frogport slash shipping packaging stuff. That is pretty complicated though. Oh, kinda an Easter egg also, guys. It's pretty funny. If you have a full set of cardboard armor, I'm gonna need to. And when you press shift, you turn into a box. you turn into a actual box when you press shift. So if you're trying to sneak onto somebody's production lines, then I guess this is how you do it. And then yeah, I mean it looks pretty cool. Funny. Yeah. So that's gonna be about it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this tutorial, and every view helps out a ton. So thanks for watching.